Week one of the NFL season. It's been a long time coming. Welcome to Pass the Rock.
Could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey, yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian. He posting like Kobe Bryant, he flying to see the pilot. Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of Atleti's from football to racing jet skis. This is Pass the Rock, don't stop the shot clock. Pass the slap shot, come on, now let's talk Pass the Rock.
An unbelievable song as always. And I said it over the summer. Jesse, maybe you can give me your thoughts how you pass a slap shot. But, either way, welcome. Jesse's back again 2 weeks in a row, and he'll be here for the foreseeable future, especially because we get to talk football for the next 26 or so weeks. So, Jesse, what's up?
Woo! I'm excited to be back. I cannot wait. This Thursday, can you believe it? This Thursday, 2 days from now, the NFL season will be upon us. Feels like just yesterday the season was starting last year, and then the day after that it was over. But just like that, it is back upon us. Thursday night, it's a great game. Rams-Bills. We're going to get into it, but I'm excited for a long season. You're going to be seeing a lot of these faces for the next 6 to 8 months of however long we're going to be talking long into 2023.
Yeah, as much as the first game is always exciting because you have the Super Bowl champion, it's very rare that it's a potential Super Bowl preview like Bills-Rams, and that's on a lot of people's boards. We'll see who we pick for the Super Bowl a little bit later. Jack, welcome. Calling in from Madison, Wisconsin. Big win for the Badgers this weekend. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great coming off the high of our big game day win, but, I'm ready to talk some NFL. I can't wait for the season to get started.
Yeah, I mean, some schools, they book a tough opening game because they want to test themselves. Other schools get Illinois State, So whatever you have to do to move up in the rankings, that's what you do.
A win is a win. That's more than you can say.
And that's more than I can say, and definitely more than West Virginia can say, which is why our friend Zach has not joined us today. The Backyard Brawl was back, and West Virginia seemed to have a commanding lead in the second half and then blew the whole thing. So congrats to the Pitt Panthers with that big win. We'll see how big it ends up being as we go through the season. Huge college football news, though, because they're moving to a 12-team playoff. It's not exactly my perfect idea I had for them over the years, but give me a little bit, Jack, what do you think of this new 12-team format?
It's same for me. Not exactly what I had in mind, but it's better than 4. I'm super excited to see more teams get the chance to play in the college football playoff. And honestly, I think that my favorite part of all of this is that the first round games, the 5 through 12 seed, are going to be held on campus, which is just incredible. I cannot wait to see. I don't know. Maybe Ohio State's the 5 seed. Let me see a college football playoff game in Columbus. Oh my God. Like that would be a dream come true. So I'm super excited about that. And just the opportunity to see more teams other than just Alabama, Georgia, and Clemson in the college football playoff every year. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and the way it'll work is that the top 6 conference winners will get 6 spots, and then the top 6 remainder of whatever teams will get the other 6. So, and then they'll seed them based on, where they are, and we'll go from there. Like you said, the top 4 get a bye. I still think that you have all these smaller conferences, and every conference champion should get in, expand it to 16, make every one of the 11 conference champions in, and then 5 at-large teams. That way, if you're a Cincinnati, like a couple of years ago, you get the chance to play in it. And granted, in this new format, they would get that chance as well. But, I'd like to see a Sun Belt champion test themselves against Alabama one year or something like that. But very thankful to have it. For all you naysayers out there that say now the college football regular season doesn't matter, you're absolutely wrong, because 12 teams make the playoffs out of like 130. So you still have to do well. In a lot of cases, you got to win your conference. So excited to see that. Hopefully they can bump it up till next year. That way we don't have to wait. Moving on, because I know, Jesse, from the Great White North, there's not a lot of college football talk up in Toronto. So NBA 2K23 ratings released, or they're beginning to be released. Jesse, want to just get your take? Anybody you saw that stood out? Too high, too low? What do you think?
Just hilarious that the cover athlete himself rolling in at a 91. which is, I think, the same as what he was last year. Not that he really did that much to improve his rating. I personally wouldn't see him going anywhere past the 93 anyway, but still pretty funny that the cover athlete himself is a 91, is below guys like Jason Tatum, John Morant, Jimmy Butler, any of whom could have been a viable candidate for the cover of the game. So funny to see him rolling into a 91. But I'd like to give a nice little shout out to DeMar DeRozan, still at an 89. As a Raptor fan, I knew for years, no matter what he did, he could average 40 points a game. 2K was never going to give that man a 90. So shout out to him for at least being at an 89. I saw KD on Twitter today complaining that he wasn't a 99 and said it was laughable at this point that he's still sitting at a 96. Jack, AD's been a 96 for what? How many years now in 2K? Like,
I don't even know. It's endless. He's been a 96 as long as I've been playing 2K.
Yeah, and so Madden prides itself in releasing 4 or 5 guys every year that are 99s. Jack, this is off script, so I know I'm catching you in a little bit of a surprise here, but what do you think about the NBA, about NBA 2K saying, we're not going to have any 99s, Giannis the best player at 97?
Honestly, it's bad advertising. Like, literally, if you want to sell copies of your game, which should be their goal, I would hope, make a big spectacle out of it. It's a huge thing from Madden, the 99 Club, and they get their little jewelry and their 99 chain, and everyone's all excited about it. And it's a real like elite thing. These players are like really honored by it. If 2K could literally just do that, just like a similar thing, that brings attention to the game. It brings more. It's another element of popularity for the sport. It benefits everyone. So I don't understand why they just can't do that. And just like, yeah, Giannis, best player in the NBA, 97. Makes no sense.
I mean, is it a my player thing? I know a couple of years ago the marketing was, you have to become a 99 doing my player. You think it's that, or you think they're just like, we get to make the ratings because nobody's perfect?
I don't get it. I really don't get it. I mean, you would think the scale is from whatever it is to 99, right? 99 is supposed to be the best player in the game. So you would think that you would give the best player in the NBA the 99 overall rating. It's just the logic isn't there. And speaking of the logic not being there, the 3-point ratings were just like, what is going on there? I mean, Steph Curry got a 99 and well-deserved. But after that, there's no one higher than a 90. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is a scale. There are other players other than Steph Curry that deserve a 3-point rating in the 90s. The game, it makes no sense to me. I don't understand how they decide who gets rated what. But it almost seems kind of random. Like, yeah, he's close enough, 90-something.
Yeah, they don't know the bell curve. They don't know. They're not like Jesse, who used to ruin the curve in school all the time by always getting 100 on every test. All right, you got to do it on the curve. Jesse, any thoughts on Klay Thompson and what he said on Twitter today about where
he was an 88. He came in at an 88 rating, which is the same as Karl Towns, who, he won the 3-point contest. But let me know when Karl Towns scores 37 points in one quarter. But as for the 99 conversation, I actually kind of get it, because in the NFL, you have 53 players on a roster versus 12 in the NBA. So there's considerably less players. So I could see why there wouldn't be maybe 4 or 5 players in that 99 club. And with Giannis, you're really going to have a 99 who was a C- 3-point rating. So I see how it could balance out at all. But I guess in Madden, it's easier to give more guys 99s because there's more players. But if anyone were to be a 99, you'd think it would be Giannis or maybe Steph at that point. But man, the 3-point ratings, I low that it's dynamic, and I hope they bump them up throughout the year. And maybe that's why 2K goes so low ball on all the ratings, so they can bump them up throughout the year. But like, from what we're starting with, and half the ratings haven't even dropped yet. For all we know, Brandon Ingram's a 73, Brian. So,
well, they're missing out on him. They'll get a real good opportunity to bump him up probably by mid-November. But we'll see how that goes. And I expect I'm actually shocked Zion's in 87. I just expected them to kill him a little bit on that, but he was the cover of the next gen 2K a couple of years ago, so maybe they're still being nice to him. But all right, all that aside, we got through what we had to get through. Let's talk some football. It's week 1 of the NFL. Pretty much the best week of the year. I know I look forward to the Super Bowl and all that, but this is the week where you're like, okay, now it's for real. Great game on Thursday night. We got the Bills at the Rams with their Super Bowl, championship, and they won it in their home stadium last February. So let's go here. Who wins this game? Which team do you think starts out maybe a little hotter? And because I think we all think that these two teams will at least be part of the conversation at the end. Jesse, we'll start with you.
I'm going to give it to the Buffalo Bills. They come out hot to start the season. I'm expecting them to come out blazing this year. No one liked how their season ended last year. I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more about these coin flips then. But I think the Bills are going to come out blazing. I know that, the Rams just won the Super Bowl, but there's something about the teams that win the Super Bowl and the opening night games. I'm not sure what it is, but something tells me the Bills are going to come out on top of this one. And I think Dawson Knox is going to be a sneaky play here. I think Stephon Diggs is going to have Jalen Ramsey all over him. And I know that it could be Gabe Davis breakout season, but Dawson Knox was popping off in the playoffs, and I really like him as a fantasy starter in this game.
Over to you, Jack. Looking at this, and Jesse's right. The home teams, which are generally the Super Bowl champion, there was that one time Baltimore had to play an away game for some reason in this opening game of the season. But the home team, so the Super Bowl champions win a lot. I think the percentage is like 85 or 90, but it's not always the best game. It's always a little bit sloppy, obviously, first game of the year. How do you see this one playing out?
I mean, you're right. It always is a little sloppy right in the beginning, and the Super Bowl champ, the defending champ, tends to take it. But I actually think that if there were any two teams to come into an opening night game and actually give us a good show and not be sloppy with the turnovers, I think it would be the Bills and the Rams. I mean, these are two of the better coach teams in the league. They're well disciplined. They've proven winning track records of the last few years. And I mean, obviously the Rams just came off the Super Bowl. But I think that I'm expecting a really good game. I think it's going to be a high-powered offense, probably pretty high scoring, and I'm going to lean with the numbers, and I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going to take the defending champs to defend the home floor on their ring night, or a banner night, I guess. But I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm super excited for it. I'll give a fantasy player too, because Jesse did. I'll go with Allen Robinson. I think he's going to have a phenomenal game in his first game as a Ram. I think that Tre'Davious White will stay focused on Cooper Kupp for most of the game, and it'll give Allen Robinson a few extra opportunities there, and I'm expecting a good night from him.
That is a great pick, and you stole my pick. I was going to go with Allen Robinson for my fantasy pick. I agree with Jesse on this one, though. I think the Bills win this game. The Rams have had kind of a scattered offseason with Stafford being a little hurt during during the preseason, and losing Bobby Trees, and also losing Odell for the foreseeable future. We'll see if he ends up signing back with them, and Von Miller as well. So I think there's a lot of things going on. I think the Bills have only grown, and obviously they're the ones still chasing because they haven't won anything yet. So I like the Bills to win this one. 24-17, 24-20, something like that. Part of that is just to get Bills Mafia off my back, since I didn't pick them to win the AFC this year. But part of it is because I believe it'll happen. When it comes to the fantasy pick, since I can't go with who I wanted, I'm going to go with a little Tyler Higbee action. I like the idea of the tight end being the safety blanket in this first game back. And, with the loss of those two receivers that I mentioned already, I think somebody needs to fill a little bit of the void. And Higbee kind of had a little bit of a disappointing season last year. I'd like to see him step up. I think he does in this game. So going to be a good one. Just excited to have everyone back and playing a little football for real. So let's get into the week one schedule. A lot of revenge games. I guess, with the movement of players nowadays, you have a lot of revenge games throughout. But let's look at some of the revenge games from week one. Jack, I'll start with you. What's one that you want to circle and make sure that you get to put some eyes on?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's the rematch of that Week 18 thriller last year between the Raiders and the Chargers. Both these teams made huge improvements in the offseason, with the Chargers bringing in Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson and completely revamping that defense. And, of course, the Raiders with Devontae Adams now. This is going to be a fun game. It's going to be a really good rematch. And I mean, last year as a Steelers fan, that was a really nerve-wracking Week 18 game for me, because if that game actually did finish in a tie, that meant my Steelers were missing the playoffs. So
And it should have ended in a tie, by the way.
Gotta love Brandon Staley, though. Thank you, Coach Staley. But no, I'm really excited for this rematch. I think it's going to be a really close, really good game, as the Chargers and Raiders games tend to be. And I think honestly, that might be the game I'm most excited for overall in Week 1. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game.
Awesome. Yeah, look, we talked a lot about the AFC West, obviously, when we did that preview and about how all those teams are going to do, and that's a hard division to pick. Jesse, over to you. What revenge game in Week 1 are you most excited to watch?
I'm excited for the Baker Mayfield versus the Browns. I'm really excited for it. I think it's a great fit. Carolina seemed like the only viable suitor for Baker before he ended up going there in the offseason. I have a lot of DJ Moore in a lot of leagues, so I'm really hoping that this is Baker's season. Also, just to see how the Browns play with Jacoby Brissett as well in at quarterback, and how Amari Cooper blends into that offense, how we see the two-headed monster of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt emerge again. And lots of excitement this week, but also I just want to give a shout out to Joe Flacco possibly getting his own revenge. Zach Wilson is still questionable for Week 1 coming off of that knee surgery, and they said he's not going to play unless he's 100%. This is a Ravens win in the books anyway, and would probably be a smart survivor pick for anybody out there. But wouldn't it be great to see Joe Flacco go against the Ravens, the only time the Jets and the Ravens are going to play this year, and Joe Flacco falls into his lap, which is probably going to be a 49-10 whomping or something. But it could be a fun one for Flacco.
Yeah, I mean, we made our survivor picks, which we'll get to in a second, and none of us picked the Ravens. That's a pretty smart pick looking at it. Maybe you want to save the Ravens because there's a few other cupcakes. But I'm looking at Week 1. I don't believe this game will be interesting at all. I think it'll be a blowout on Monday night with the Seahawks and the Broncos. But Russell Wilson coming home, I think it'll be a very warm welcome. And then he'll get to see what the 12 is really like, because it's one thing when you're an offense as the home team, another thing when you're not the home team. So I'm excited about the Broncos. I don't think they'll have the success that everybody else is talking about, but there's a lot of players to like on that team, and it'll be exciting to watch these receivers, specifically Cortland Sutton, because I have a lot of him, have a real quarterback throwing to them. No offense, Drew Lock, but Russell Wilson's an upgrade. So I'm excited about that game from that perspective. It is on Monday night. I wish we had a little bit, hopefully more competitive game, but you never know. Geno Smith is probably listening to me right now and is going to take offense to it, and he could guide the Seahawks to a victory. Who knows? Yeah. Moving on to Survivor picks, Week 1. If you want to play Survivor, we're doing it at Lost Tribe. Okay, just join our Discord. You can join the sports chat and be a part of it. Big prizes and everything, and excited about Survivors. So, Jesse, starting with you. I know you're going out on a limb here with this pick, and you've been burned by this team before, so I'll let you take it away.
Thus, I have my former Super Bowl pick for last year, which was a dark horse candidate that didn't even make the playoffs. The Indianapolis Colts are my Survivor pick. Last year, Week 1, they had the Jaguars and somehow lost that game. Our Survivor pool in Week 1, they humiliated me. However, I am not learning from my mistakes, and I'm sticking with them this Week 1. They are playing the Houston Texans, who have no business winning this game. I could still see it happening because that is just my luck, but a lot of people are riding the Colts. I figure it's a good enough team that I can pick them now and not worry about wasting it on a team like the Ravens this week. So hopefully, Indy, Matt Ryan's first game, hopefully there's some flowers on the other side of it for me.
Yeah, look, everything on paper says you're right, but then Matt Ryan with his noodle arm, you never know what could happen. But
yeah, Davis Mills comes out looking great, and Matt Ryan throws a pick 6. You never know.
I was trying to hard sell Davis Mills to a few people in my fantasy draft last night. No takers. Jack, over to you. Survivor pick Week 1.
I mean, honestly, the Colts would have probably been my pick too, but I'm going to let Jesse have his Colts fun, and I'll take my own pick. And I'm going to go with their division mate in the Tennessee Titans. I think I'm not the biggest Titans guy this year. I've talked about that on this show. I'm not a huge fan of them, but they are at home in Week 1 against the New York Giants, which should be a pretty winnable game. And there's been a lot of Titans slander this offseason. People have been talking down on them. And I think that they're just going to come out and pound the rock with Derrick Henry against that Giants defense. And I think they'll be able to get a win pretty easily because I really don't believe in the Giants whatsoever. So yeah, the strategy in Survivor is always to pick the best team that you possibly can, but save the good ones. So this is a really winnable game for a team that I don't think is that good, and that's the perfect Week 1 Survivor pick to me.
See, I am totally against that Survivor strategy. I just think you got to find the winners. And if you save people, like, when does it ever really come down to week 16, 17, unless you're in a like 2,000 person Survivor pool, then you could go, from season to season. I actually really love the Ravens pick. I'm not going to use it here because we already talked about some others, but I think that's a huge one. I'm not saving them. They're playing the Jets. Let's roll with it. I worry a little bit. Danny Dimes can be a week 1 stud. You never know. But I'm going to go with the Broncos. I don't think there's a chance the Seahawks show up and win this game. I think they're in total disarray, and Russell Wilson's not going back to Seattle to lose. I don't like really waiting until Monday with my Survivor pick, but when it's a good, juicy matchup like this, I'll do it. So
I hate doing that. Then you spend all weekend seeing the teams you were going to pick win, and then you go to win.
Exactly. So really quickly, let's pick each other's favorite team and what they're going to do in the game. So Jesse, I'll start with you. I'm going to let you pick the Saints Falcons.
All right, Saints Falcons. I mean, come on. This is the Saints. Also, week 1, the Saints are pretty good in week 1 from the past couple seasons, especially going up against the Falcons. Marcus Mariota is listed as their starting quarterback for right now. I don't see him winning a week 1 game against the Saints. As well, the Saints have gotten a lot of new weapons this year. I'm excited to see the debuts of Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave. Excited to see if Michael Thomas actually suits up. As well as, Alvin Kamara's getting back out there. Jameis Winston's getting back out there. I think they're going to put up a lot of points on the Falcons this week. So you're lucky this week, Brian, but I think the Saints are going to come away like 35-14. Like, they're going to put up points.
That sounds like a great Sunday. I'm looking forward to that one. So going to you, Jack, you get to pick the Patriots and the Dolphins, Jesse's team, the Pats from New England.
Yeah, and I actually think that it's going to be a slow game. I think it's going to be a bit of a slugfest, as Patriots games tend to be these days. But it's going to be close. I think that these are two teams that are pretty similar in level. I've talked about how much I don't like Tua, and I think the Dolphins are going to be a colossal failure this year. But the Patriots have also tended to struggle with the Dolphins in the past. So it's definitely a tough pick. I think I'm going to go with the Patriots, though. In a really close game, I think in the end, Bill Belichick outcoaches rookie coach Mike McDaniel. And at the end of the day, the Patriots will squeak out a win, low scoring, maybe like 20-17. Like, not a high scoring game, slow game, but I think the Patriots squeak it out.
All right. So both of you picked our teams to win. I'm going to end that streak here as I'm picking Jack's Steelers against the Bengals. I don't think there is anything possible for the Steelers to go into Cincinnati after they got to the Super Bowl, came within a few plays of winning the thing. And to boot, they named Mitch Trubisky the starter. So with all of that going on, I like the Bengals big in this one, like 31-17. Obviously they'll cover for those of you out there that are old enough to bet. And, I just believe that the Bengals and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and, you surround yourself with LSU guys from 2019, you're going to be successful. So big time on the Bengals. I know we have a lot of Steelers fans that pay attention to this show, and they're just going to have to deal with it. Let's move to our Super Bowl picks. Now, Jesse wasn't part of our 8-week extravaganza where we went through every division. We did fantasy drafts just within divisions, had a lot of fun with it. So as a recap, I'll let Jack and I throw out our Super Bowl picks, and then we'll go to you, Jesse. So Jack, give us who you have going to the Super Bowl and winning it.
Yeah, so I actually have a rematch of the first game of the season, the week 1 Thursday night football game, Bills versus Rams. I think that the Bills are the best team in the AFC this year. I don't have them winning it in the regular season, but I do think that they'll overcome the Chiefs in the playoffs. And I think that the Rams are the best team in football on paper, the defending champs, and I think they're going to get right back there because they're just that good. But I picked the Rams opening night, but I think it goes the other way in the Super Bowl. I think at that point in the season, I think Josh Allen is going to really be in a flow. I think that the Bills' offense is going to be firing on all cylinders. Their defense, which added Von Miller, is going to be one of the best in football, and they're my Super Bowl pick over the Rams.
All right, so the Bills over the Rams. As I've mentioned earlier, Bills Mafia already hates me. I'm going to rehash what's going to happen. The Bills are going to have the 1 seed in the AFC and lose to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. Yes, in Buffalo. I get it. It's just a team you can't get past. There's so much pointing at the Bills in this offseason for taking that next step, and I just don't think they're going to get it done. I think they're just a team that has a ceiling. And look, first of all, we all know they've never won a Super Bowl. They've been to 4. But I don't think this is the year either. I just think the AFC is a little too stacked. It's going to be really tough to get out of there. The NFC, on the other hand, is having a weaker year. I do like the Rams over the Saints in the NFC Championship, as much as that's going to really pain me to have to watch that again. And, you know, I'm going with Mahomes. I'm riding with the Mahomes train. The Chiefs over the Rams in the Super Bowl. I just think that we're going to really see, I think everything Tyreek Hill said in the offseason, Patrick's been writing it down. He understands he's just not as accurate as Tua Tagovailoa when he throws those 50-yard button hooks because he can't throw a deep ball. But so give me the Chiefs over the Rams. Over to you, Jesse. A brand new pick, a new season. Who do you have?
Well, I'm trying to be a little original here. I hear a lot of things about the Rams. When looking at the AFC, there's like 10 teams that could come out of the AFC.
Yep.
And, you know, like last year, I don't think anybody had the Bengals going to the Super Bowl. But could be the Raiders for all we know. Could be the Dolphins. No, not the Dolphins. But I'm going to have the Bills, shocker, coming over your New Orleans Saints, Brian. The Saints made a lot of little moves here and there throughout the season. I already mentioned what they made on offense, but last year the Saints were easily a top 10 defensive unit in the league. They were, I believe, 4th in points allowed and tied for like everything below in the top 10 of like interceptions, sacks, rush yards allowed, pass yards allowed, total yards, points, everything. And along with that, they boosted up the offense this year. And defense wins championships. If you can have a strong-minded defense like the Saints have, and then combine that with some high-powered offense, I think they could make a run for it. I don't want to just say the Rams or the Bucks again because, you know, it's more fun this way. So let's say Bills over Saints. I don't think Jameis Winston has it in him to win a Super Bowl, but I think that he could get them there.
All right. I mean, Jesse knows how to work on getting a raise. You know, he picks the Saints in week 1 by 21 points over the Falcons, and then he picks the Saints to at least go to the Super Bowl. Jack, maybe take a few notes. You can get better at it in the future. Let's move over to fantasy. You know, the beautiful thing about week 1 is not just that there's football on, but that we have fantasy. We had our staff draft last week at this time, and I'm sure we all think we're going to, be there in the end and be elite in that league. Let's start with this. One player you can't get enough of that when he's around and you're picking, you just seem to end up with him over and over again. Start with you, Jesse.
I've seen a lot of Rashad Bateman this year, and I don't know if it's just because he's fallen to me in the later rounds, like maybe round 7, 8. He's still the wide receiver 1 on that team now with the departure of Hollywood Brown. And, you know, Mark Andrews is going to get as many targets as he can handle, but somebody else has to catch passes. Rashad Bateman was starting to get the volume there at the end of last season. In the games that he played with Lamar Jackson, he was performing really well. And, you know, he was starting to break out towards the end of the year. Lamar Jackson, as great as he is at running the ball, is still an amazing passer and still is going to put up a lot of yards this year. And week 1 versus the Jets is just a great start to it all. I have Rashad Bateman locked and loaded in pretty much every flex spot I can find. I'm excited for him this year. I think breakout and is going to assume a lot of the workload left behind from Hollywood Brown.
Cool. Rashad Bateman.
And Sammy Watkins leaving too.
Yep. No, I do think Lamar gets underrated as a passer. I don't think they give him as much to do in the passing game as they probably need to and let him rip it. But I like that Rashad Bateman pick. Over to you, Jack. What's a player that you just keep drafting over and over?
Yeah, you know, this is a little bit of a weird one because it's almost never my plan to go after this guy, but he sort of falls on my lap every time. And that's Adam Thielen. I don't know why this happens to me all the time, but I always get to a point in the draft where I'm looking for a flex, and I always like having receivers in my flex. And I just see Adam Thielen sitting there, who is consistent and good every single season, year in and year out. His production is literally the same wide receiver 2 level every year. And I think this year, with all the hype that's surrounding Justin Jefferson, he's going to have even more open opportunities because I'm sure those cornerback ones will not be on him anymore. So it's really, I think he's going to have a great season. And again, it's not always my plan to go after him, but he always falls in my lap, and I really do believe in him. So I've got a lot of stock in him this year, and I'm excited to see him get on the field this weekend.
And there's a lot of data out there in the fantasy community about wide receiver 2s on teams stepping up to become wide receiver 1s, like Cooper Kupp last year, like Jamar Chase and others. Obviously, I don't think there's a lot of people saying Adam Thielen's going to outperform Justin Jefferson, but he's in that wide receiver 2 role. He gets better coverage rolled his way. Obviously, he's been a very productive fantasy receiver for a long time. So I do like that pick, and people like Allen Robinson, people like Jarvis Landry, that are wide receiver 2s that can make that step up. My pick in this one's going to be Saquon Barkley. I think people forgot just how good he was 2 years ago. Granted, he's had 2 bad injuries in between now and then, but he keeps falling to me at the end of round 2 or the beginning of round 3, and it's hard for me to pass, because I know that he's going to get the ball a ton. I know they want to take the ball out of Danny Dimes's passing hand as much as they can and just hand it off to Barkley. So I've been taking a lot of him. We'll continue to do so. I have one more draft tonight before the season starts on Thursday, so excited to have him. Moving on, a player you want nothing to do with. You have a long history where he's burned you, or the situation's just terrible. Jack, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so, I'm not going to mention the guy that I would usually pick because this is Brian's pick, and we'll get to it in a second, but I'll comment on that later. The guy that I went for right now is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I am sick and tired of taking him. I took him in his rookie year. He was disappointing. He's been disappointing every year since. Is this year 3 or year 4 for him now? I can't even remember what it is, but he's disappointing every season. So he's supposed to be a good pass catching back. His PPR numbers are never what they should be. I mean, he's not a red zone guy. I don't really understand what he does for you. He's one of those guys that just sits in that dead zone of running backs, and you pick him when you're desperate for an RB2. I do my absolute best to never let myself get in the situation where I'm that desperate to pick Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I cannot watch him on my fantasy team anymore. I'm done with him.
Yeah, he's the exception to the rule I mentioned earlier of just draft LSU guys from the 2019 team, because he is not the one. This is his 3rd year in the league, and he had, like you said, an okay first year, and then was on the top of everybody's board last year, and obviously did not do anything with that. Jesse, over to you. Who's your pick for a player you want none of, no matter what round he comes to you?
I don't care if he's still available in the 15th round. I am not taking Tyler Lockett. He has been falling to me round after round. And like when you have 2 picks next to each other and then 20 picks later, you come back to see who's there and Tyler Lockett's still sitting there. And I just can't get far enough away from him. He's burned me a few times. He's dropped 55 points on my head a few times as well. But specifically, he's the epitome of the guy you start and he gets 4 points and then you bench him and he has 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett, you can never get it right. He's like Christian McCaffrey as a season, but week to week. Like he's either going to score the most points of the entire season or drop a goose egg. So Tyler Lockett also now downgrading to Geno Smith. At least when he had Russell Wilson throwing him deep bombs, he had some prospect. But now with Geno Smith there and possibly Drew Lock taking over if Geno Smith doesn't work out. But I need to stay as far away from Tyler Lockett as I can because it's truly a coin flip every week and I just can't deal with the headache.
Yeah, no, look, I see that. And he's been tough the last couple of years. And you're right. As soon as you bench him, he, has 3 catches for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm going with my good friend, Terry McLaurin. Scary Terry is the right thing because if you have him on your team, you're scared to start him. If you look at last year, okay, he was supposed to be a top 5 or 6 wide receiver. He only had 4 games where he had double-digit points based on this one scoring system I'm looking at. A lot of 40 receiving yards, 51 receiving yards, 22 receiving yards, 0 against Dallas in Week 14. He scares me. And then they pair him with Carson Wentz. So, I'm staying away from him. If it's an auction and it's $1, that's too much. I can't pay that much. So I'm just moving away. Last year burned me, and I can't ever do it again. Jack, any thoughts on Scary Terry?
Yeah, I mean, Brian got him down on the sheet first, but he would have been my pick. I cannot take him. Like, he's just and honestly, I really feel bad for the guy because I don't think it's entirely his fault. I do think he's a talented receiver. His quarterback situation has just been so awful for the entirety of his career that just he can't catch a break. I mean, the guy does not have a quarterback that can get him the ball enough to be a productive fantasy receiver. And people try to bet on his talent all the time just because he is a talented receiver. But that quarterback situation really does matter. And fantasy-wise, Terry McLaurin is just not it.
Yeah. No, it's scary. And look, he'll have a great game against Jacksonville this week in the absolute worst game on the slate, Commanders against the Jaguars. But then that'll be it. And then he'll go back to being 4 catches for 49 yards and no touchdowns. So, weird. Thank you, Siri. Going on, PPR Draft Strategy for 2022. Talk to me a little bit about what your strategy is for these sorts of drafts. Is it a 0? We couldn't talk about this last week because we had our own draft and you wanted to keep the cards a little bit close to the chest. 0 running back. Do you ever go that way? Do you do a mix of running back, wide receivers? And what round is right to take a quarterback? Starting with you, Jesse.
I really, honestly, I can't back the 0 RB strat this year. I've thought about it in past years, but man, the running backs drop off so hard this year. It's like there's the first and second rounds, and then third round comes around and you're looking at Damian Williams. Like it's bad this year. If you're trying to run 0 RB and you're not taking a running back till the 5th or 6th round, and seriously, like the only guys that are still available, like maybe your RB1's Cordell Patterson, maybe your RB1 somehow is like Breece Hall or something, but it's rough out here. It depends what kind of league you have. Obviously, if you have like a 4 flex league, you're going to be stacking up the wide receivers, but I've been going with a running back for my first pick in every draft that I've had. It might just so happen as to where I've fallen in the draft, kind of towards the end of the first round, where got a lot of Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara's falling around then. But the 0 RB strat, it's just not going this year. Mostly, honestly, it's been RB, receiver for me to start the first 4 rounds.
Where do you fall on the quarterback? What round would you start to look at a quarterback? Are you a guy that loves to grab Josh Allen, or are you going to wait and see what falls to you later?
I love taking a quarterback later for the most part. I have a lot of Dak Prescott this year falling in like the 9th or 10th round as possibly like the 9th or 10th quarterback off the board. I see a lot of people reaching for Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson and as early as the 3rd round this year. Seen a couple Josh Allens in the 1st round, but that's just when you're playing with your cousin because you needed a 12th player for the league. But I was fortunate enough in the Lost Tribe Community League for Patrick Mahomes, I believe, fell to me in like the 5th round, and I just had to take him because he's going to have top 3 fantasy points on the year in the 5th round. So I think if you're in a situation where a guy like Mahomes or Herbert or Lamar Jackson falls to you in the 5th, 6th round, maybe you consider it. But unless it's one of those top 3 guys, I'm very comfortable taking a Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, or Tom Brady in like 8th, 9th, or 10th rounds.
Yeah, I was proud of our draft because no quarterback was taken in the first 3 rounds. So people really did kind of heed that advice of waiting. Now, the first pick in the 4th round was when Josh Allen was taken. But over to you, Jack. How do you feel about where you should draft that quarterback? And what are your thoughts on the 0 running back strategy?
Yeah, I'll start with the 0 running back strategy. I just can't get behind that. Like Jesse was saying, you're just so I don't think you can win a league if you go 0 RB. I legitimately think it's impossible to win. I generally, for me, 2 of my first 3 picks are running backs. I'm okay with waiting for a running back in the 3rd round if get the chance to take one of those like top end receivers in the second. So like I had a draft last night where I had the 8th pick and I got Dalvin Cook there. And then I went back and got Devontae Adams in the second round just to take that top end talent at receiver. But so in a situation like that, I'm okay with waiting for the third to take the second running back. But you really needed 2 running backs in your first 3 picks, in my opinion, if you want a chance to win your league. And with the quarterback situation, my favorite strategy, I like to be the absolute last person to take a quarterback. I like literally everybody to go ahead, reach on the quarterbacks, reach on your Mahomeses and Allen and Herbert, and hopefully someone goes and jumps for Tom Brady or something like that. And I like to be the last guy and take a swing at one of my favorite high upside quarterbacks in Trey Lance. I have so much Trey Lance stock this year in like just about almost all of my redraft leagues. I have Trey Lance this year just because I believe so much in him. And my strategy, I like to be one of the first to take a backup quarterback after I take Trey Lance. So I'll go for one of those really solid guys like a Matt Stafford or a Russell Wilson or even a Derek Carr, someone that I know is going to be solid. He's going to score around 20 fantasy points a game just in case Trey Lance doesn't work out. And I'm betting on Trey Lance this year. I really believe in him.
He's got a lot of Trey Lance stock, but he's also got another guy just in case he has to sell the Trey Lance stock.
No,
real quick
exactly. Look, you need to have a backup plan.
For sure.
You have to have that safety net.
Funny. Usually I think Trey Lance is the backup plan for Russell Wilson and for
exactly.
No, that's my primary plan.
That's right, kids at home. If you're following along, backup plan. Okay, make sure you have a second quarterback. That's from Jack. Just stuff you're not going to hear on other podcasts for sure. I hate the 0 running back strategy this year the most. I tell myself what Jack just said. I need 2 out of the first 3, and then I get to my pick in the second round, and I'm like, I have to take a second one. I've already taken one in the first round. I have to take one here because the wide receiver position is so deep that you can pull it together. There's tons of teams I have with Cortland Sutton and DJ Moore as my 2 wide receivers after I've gone running back. And so you can pull that off, and then you're through 4 rounds with some pretty solid guys. So can't go there. I agree with you. Unless somebody like Mahomes drops to the 4th or 5th round, I'm probably waiting on quarterback. I don't know that I'm so high on Trey Lance. I'd like to think he's going to be a Lamar Jackson type like Lamar was in his rookie year where he just explodes and there's a lot of rushing yards available and he gets by with what he can do with his arm. But we'll have to see what that is. So I do have him in one league. I have not gone to him a ton. So it's really interesting though. And I hope, in this last draft I have tonight, there's a few folks going 0 running back because unless it's an auction league and you just get boxed out of the running back situation, you can't neglect. It's too big this year. Last question. Give me a player that you want to get a lot of that's not really highly ranked that you think long-term success in 2022 leads to him. Going to you, Jesse.
For all my fantasy players out there who struggle to fill the tight end position year after year, maybe you were hoping that Darren Waller or Kyle Pitts or George Kittle would fall to you, but that guy in front of you just scooped them right up. Boy, do I have the answer for you, and his name is Logan Thomas. He's not the highest ranked guy, but let me tell you, as a PPR guy, he is great. He was pretty great 2 years ago on the Commanders. Last year, he was injured, came back. In the few games he was back, scored a couple touchdowns, got a good amount of targets. And now with Carson Wentz, new QB, new situation, love to throw the tight end. I think Logan Thomas his stock is going to go even higher. And I'm not saying he's going to be a top 5 tight end, but if you're a guy who just doesn't have a tight end week to week, and Logan Thomas, I noticed, is undrafted in a lot of leagues or was going at the very, very end of drafts as a backup tight end for some people. I think he's a great option and definitely a tight end 1, like definitely in the top 10 tight end conversation. So if you need a guy and you are hoping to get someone on like a Dalton Schultz type level, I think that Logan Thomas is a great late round option and even someone who's going to be on your waiver wire because he's questionable for week 1. So if he doesn't come back right away, he's definitely available in your league and you can go scoop him up.
Well, you hate to miss that Jaguars matchup too. I mean, he's got a real opportunity there. But Jack, over to you, a player not highly ranked that you're like, I gotta have this guy because he's gonna make my team a championship contender.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this player, I don't understand why he's ranked so low. I mean, I had a draft last night where I saw guys like Cordell Patterson and Antonio Gibson go ahead of him. Like, I just don't get it. AJ Dillon is ranked ridiculously low, and he is. I think he has an opportunity to overtake Aaron Jones this year. I mean, Aaron Jones, he's really like he's getting up there in age. Running backs do not have that much longevity, and he's been around for a while. And I think this could be the year that they sort of lean in the direction of AJ Dillon more, especially on the goal line, to get those touchdowns because Dillon's that bigger back. And I've been seeing him go. I think I saw him ranked like 125 on ESPN last night, which is it's absurd that he's ranked that low. I mean, in a 10-team league, you're getting him in like the 10th round or later. I mean, it's really unbelievable. I think it can be an absolute steal this year. I think he has high-end RB2 upside, and I'm taking him whenever I can.
Yeah, well, when I was boxed out of my my draft last night with the auction situation, I ended up with AJ Dillon as my number one running back. So hopefully that works out for me. We'll see.
And
I have been drafted, and he's Jewish. That's true.
And he's Jewish.
True. And he understands fantasy football. So he's not just going to take a knee because the game dictates it at the one. He's going to score those points for you. You know it. So my pick is DeAndre Hopkins. This is no secret that DeAndre Hopkins is good at football. He is suspended for 6 weeks, and I am drafting him every single time I can because it doesn't matter what I do in the first 6 weeks. It only matters how I end and on an upswing. In another case, I also like Michael Thomas in this similar situation as I duped Jesse out of him last week. So give me some DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, I'll have to stash him on my IR or on my bench for 6 weeks, like I said. But then you have, a top 10 wide receiver. You don't have to give up that much draft capital to get him. You can get him in round 7, 8, 9, somewhere up in there. And I've been grabbing him every chance I get. Now I'm sure as I'm saying this, Kyler Murray will get injured, and I won't get to really see the beauty of DeAndre Hopkins, but I'm still giving it a shot because I just love that. So that's our week 1 primer. Excited to get back to some football. Probably have some more content for you later this week. Maybe a few more fantasy picks if Jack and Zach can maybe give us a little action, a little show or something. So, but looking forward to it, and check out Pass the Rock all season long. We're gonna have a bunch of content. Jesse and I, Jack and Zach, maybe some Twitter Spaces after the Thursday night and Monday night games. We'll see about that as well. So follow us wherever you follow us, Lost Tribe, Pass the Rock, and we'll see you next week.